in California, where the highest concentration of all these groups for Cambodians, Hmong, Laotian, and Vietnamese are actually here in California. And for that reason, I think it's really important that the campaign is here to recognize that different subsets of the students of color need to be recognized and be addressed. And half of the Southeast Asian students in California are actually English language learners. And so that becomes a much more critical situation because my experience occurred about 15 years ago, and yet 50% of the Southeast Asian students are still ELL students, and just imagine what they're going through now. Because the data is not as readily available for Southeast Asians, what we have done is to extrapolate what's going on from other types of data, for example, from the census. So just from that, one really important piece of information to note is that those who are 25 years and over have less than a high school diploma. So you can backtrack from that and estimate that for some groups it's about 50% of these adults who are now parents of younger Southeast Asian American learners who don't have a diploma, and they are the ones who are supporting their kids. And so why do we need to pay special attention to Southeast Asian students? Well, again, they are among the people with the lowest income. They are among those who are the lowest performing in the schools. And most of them are now in the upper grades, which makes it harder for them to then backtrack and catch up. And in the year 2000, it was estimated that about, again, 50% of these students have dropped out. And so the challenges in the community for Southeast Asians, again, is continues to grow. And we highly support the campaign's recommendations because what they're recommending is to look at and recommend that the educational databases break down and disaggregate the groups into, for example, for the Asian community, for 48 subgroups that are uncommonly disaggregated. So just imagine, knowing more about these students, and now that we have a method of tracking them, like Superintendent Jack O'Connell has mentioned, I think we are in a good position to understand where these students are going, how well they're doing, and to be in a better position to actually create the instructions and activities that will keep them engaged. For some of you who don't know, I mean, there was a bill that was proposed and passed by the Senate, but then later vetoed this past summer to disaggregate the Asian subgroups. And another point that I want to make before I go is for many of these Southeast Asians, if you talk to them, given their family's background, the trauma that the parents have experienced, in many ways, have gotten in the way of their support for their kids' education. A lot of consequences come from that. There's lack of communication, and there's very little understanding of the U.S. educational experience. And to support their kids, it's very difficult for them because they don't have that experience. And so it has been proposed that a Southeast Asian curriculum be integrated because for many of these kids, what they are being taught in schools are the cultures of other groups, the values of other groups, where their families, their parents and families are doing otherwise. So one example would be, like say, during April, many, including myself, learn a lot about Easter, and we do all the activities related to Easter. But in reality, back at home, our parents are actually preparing for the biggest celebration of their year, which is Lao Cambodian New Year. So, but that's really not reflected in their education. So when they come home, you get this conflicting practices. So for these reasons and definitely more, I and Many that I know highly endorse the recommendations of the campaign. What they've outlined are issues that will address the critical changes that Southeast Asians and other American students of color need to transform and improve their educational experience. Thank you very much.